Alright, Lines, so Bleach Resonance has just released their newest character, introducing everyone's favorite short king, a new Ssr Bankai Toshiro. So with that, in today's video, we're going to be going over everything you need to know regarding this character's release, spanning from his playstyle, the best ways to build him, and also his best team and rotations. So if you lads do enjoy content like this, show support by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and in the comments below, let me know what character you want me to review next. But having a closer look at Toshiro as a character, currently right now what makes this character stand out above all SSRs is that he is the current only SSR spirit type unit, but more specifically a full assault unit. That means he's going to be a very good DPS character, especially when put up against spirit type characters. If you are someone that doesn't own Toshiro, your only alternative really is to use a non-spirit type character, or then use Ururu. So that's why Toshiro's release is one of the bigger deals right now due to his uniqueness in the game. But when it comes to gameplay, this character does have access to 3 forms. His basic form, his Tensou Jurin form, and also of course his Bankai form. All forms are focused on dealing a basic attack damage, and in the case for his Bankai form, also including ultimate damage. So with that in mind, when it comes to the character's kit, he has multiple ways to increase his basic attack damage, and also of course his ultimate damage. In the case for his basic form, it's fairly simple. You get to use your basic attack, and you also get to use your technique. While in this form, your main goal is to build up enough spiritual pressure to activate the enhanced technique, which will give you access to his Tensou Jurin form. Now his technique sends massive ice crystals and fires them towards the enemy, and after 2.5 seconds it will then explode, providing a significant spiritual pressure gain, enough to actually activate your Tensou Jurin form. However, to get the most out of his technique, what you want to do is actually pause for a second after you do activate the technique, and you'll see a flash on Toshiro's character. Once you see that, that is an indicator to use your basic attack, which will activate the final hit of his basic attack, but instantly detonating those ice pillars to gain spiritual pressure. And while in the Tensou Jurin form, this form provides a significant damage increase on his basic attacks and also significantly more range. However, do be careful because once this character is hit, aka interrupted, his Tensou Jurin form will be prematurely removed. However, you can work around this negative effect by, of course, just getting the character's weapon stamp. Now, as you cycle through his basic state and also Tensou Jurin form, once you build up enough ultimate charge, you can then activate his Bankai. And through his Bankai, Toshiro now essentially becomes a ranged character. One of the bigger things about this form is that he can move while performing basic attacks, which not only allows him to be a pretty good offensive character, it also makes him quite defensive in the sense that he can't take damage, especially considering that a lot of times you will also be freezing the enemies. But to get the most out of his Bankai state, there are 4 things you need to keep in mind. The first one is that you are going to want to build up. This is an effect that he can apply after the final hit of his basic attack, and each stack of build-up increases the amount of spirit damage that he can deal, which does cap out at 5. And it's very important you do cap this out at 5 because once you do use your ultimate and de-transform out of his Bankai, if you do have 5 stacks of build-up, you will get instantly enough spiritual pressure to activate his Tensou Jurin form. Now additionally, while in this form, you're also going to be building up Ice Edge for every attack that you do land. And this is going to be indicated by the 6 small pillars that you can see at the top of this character's spiritual pressure gauge. Once this does complete, it lets you use the character's Bankai technique, which you can then instantly follow up with an additional counter attack. Now below that, you're also then going to be building up his Ice Blossom effect. This is indicated by the big petals. You can currently build up to 8, but with the core stamp, you can get that up to 12. And each stack of Ice Blossom is going to increase the character's ultimate damage, in particular by 6% per petal. So the idea is that you don't want to use this character's ultimate until those petals are fully built up. However, with all this in mind, you also want to make sure you are doing this in a very short amount of time, because while you can stay in the character's Bankai state as long as you want to, due to his second passive effect, if you activate your ultimate within 20 seconds, your ultimate damage will be increased. And this once more is indicated by the icon at the bottom, giving you a clear indicator when that timer is about to finish. So those are all the things you need to keep in mind while in the Bankai state. It kind of is a lot to keep in mind, but it is also fairly simple. You want to deal basic attack, activate the technique when you can. Once you build up enough Ice Blossoms, assuming you do that within 20 seconds, you will then activate your ultimate to get the most damage from your ultimate, because that's the most important part about the character's Bankai. All the damage from this form is more so directed from the ultimate, so you don't want to stay in this form for that long. In fact, the Tensou Jurin form actually deals more basic attack damage. So you are encouraged to switch between all forms and not stay in one particular form, like for example the Bankai. So with that all in mind, let's go over some of the best teams that you can use with Toshiro. One of the best parts about Toshiro right now, given that he is the only available SSR Spirit type unit, is that in a way his teams are pretty free-to-play friendly. So a very easy team to build around him is Toshiro as your full assault spirit type DPS. You can then use Ssr Rukia as your sub DPS tactic unit. And then you can finish the team up with Ssr Momo, a free character available right now in this event, as your support type character to increase your spirit type, crit rate, and also attack. A more premium alternative, of course, does allow you to use Kisuke as your support attack type booster. And if you're watching this in the future, right now data mines do assume that Aizen is going to be a spirit type tactic unit to round up this team in replacement for Ssr Rukia. So having a close look at the character rotation, personally, I like to start off my team with the support characters. So in the case for Kisuke, use his technique into special attacks to get the attack boost, and when available, use the ultimate to further increase your character's critical damage. In the case for Momo, she does require a bit more setting up. So in this case, you would want to use your technique to lay down a Kido Snare, which you then want to follow up with a counter attack, a special attack, or ultimate to ignite the Kido Snare, which will provide your team with a stack of insight. The insight buff provides an attack boost for your entire team, and once there are 3 or more stacks of insight thanks to a tactic passive, she will then provide even more damage, in this case spirit damage, for the entire team. Now once you applied your attack boost through Kisuke or Momo, you then want to switch into Toshiro and start dealing actual damage. Start off by using its technique, followed up by an attack with a very slight delay, which will cause his ice pillar to explode, providing again significant spiritual pressure gain, which will instantly allow you to activate your Tensho Jurin form. Switch into Rukia whenever you can to provide extra damage or freeze effects, and you essentially repeat that process, making sure the buffs are active at all time for your support units. When Toshiro has enough ult gauge, activate the Bankai and proceed to use your basic attacks and technique when it is ready. Remember, you have 20 seconds in this form to get the most out of his ultimate damage. So within those 20 seconds, assuming you aren't interrupted or switch out to another character, you are going to be able to use enough basic attacks to get the max stack of build up. And through the Ice Edge effect, you are going to be able to use your powerful technique 3 times before the 20-second countdown, where you then can use your ultimate and get the most out of his ultimate damage. And as you would have gotten 5 stacks of build-up very easily, that would then allow you to instantly activate his Tensho Jurin form right after to do even more damage on his basic attacks. Now you might be wondering, how exactly should you build the character? Well, as recommended in game, when it comes to his skills in particular, it's very important you max out his passive, ultimate, and also basic attack levels. Of course, his counterattack and technique leveled up is also good to note, but the main ways you are going to be building damage here is for his ultimate when you are in Bankai, and for his basic attack when you are in his Tensho Jurin form. His go-to weapon stamp is going to be his exclusive weapon stamp. At base level, it does provide 30% more crit rate, which is actually important due to his passive effects. The more crit rate this character does have, the more basic attack his damage can deal. But also most importantly, during his Tensho Jurin form, his basic damage is increased, his damage taken is reduced, and like mentioned at the start of the video, while using his basic attack, they cannot be interrupted. So this removes the one flaw his Tensho Jurin form does have. Recommended core stamp is going to be his exclusive one, as that does increase the cap of Ice Blossom from 8 to 12, while also providing an additional effect where each Ice Blossom stack can increase the amount of crit damage he can deal, specifically for his ultimates. Additionally, when enemies are frozen, his basic attacks also then deal 20% more damage. If you don't have access to his core stamp, there are 2 different alternatives. An Ssr alternative is going to be rushing into danger. This core stamp increases the amount of damage that he does do on his ultimates. Since his ultimate damage is a big part of him, this is a good core stamp to have. However, an SSR alternative, one specifically to increase his basic attack, is going to be to reach higher places. Through this, the more combo you have, the more damage your basic attacks can deal. So this one more so specializes his damage in his Tensho Jurin form. And when it comes to his stamp set, definitely go with World Conquest. The 2-piece effect provides 11% more spirit damage, and the 3-piece set increases his ultimate damage by 30%, and each time a technique is used, it would then increase his basic attack damage by 36% for 8 seconds. Which of course is perfect for Toshiro. This character is all about dealing ultimate damage in the Bankai, basic attack damage in his Tensho Jurin form. There is by far no better stamp set to use other than this. But taking a closer look at each individual stamp, the slot 1 stamp you definitely want to have attack percentage increase or spirit damage increase. For the advanced stats, definitely look out for attack percentage increase, ultimate charge rate, crit damage increase, and also crit rate increase. The most important one here definitely being crit rate increase, because remember, for his passive, the more crit rate, the more basic attack damage. With that in mind, for slot number 2, the best basic stat roll is crit rate or crit damage. Without duplicates, you're probably better off going with crit rate, but assuming you can get duplicates for this character, maybe crit damage is going to be better long term. Although, depending on your advanced stats from slot 1, 2, and 3, if you have a lot of crit rate through the advanced stats, then it's definitely better to go crit damage. But if all your stamps also have a lot of crit damage increase, then slot 2 being crit rate as the basic stat definitely again is going to be ideal. For slot 3, you don't really need to focus on ultimate charge rate, since he does build it up relatively fast, but it's still nice to have as a bonus in the advanced stats section. So for slot 3 stamp, just go with attack percentage increase. And then lastly, for his bond effect, you can go with the Shunsui, Jushiro, and also Yamamoto. This effect does increase the amount of damage that you can deal. The Soifon, Omaida, and also Yoruichi bond effects can increase the amount of crit damage that you can deal. If you have a high crit rate, this one is definitely good to go with. And if again you are playing while Toshiro is available through the event, you are able to get the Ssr bond effect with Toshiro, Momo, and also Aizen. And this one increases the amount of damage that you can deal based on the crit rate that you do have. So this one is also going to be really good for a character like Toshiro. So Toshiro overall is going to be a very powerful damage dealing unit, which is expected of a full assault character. Like mentioned at the start of the video, the best part about him right now is that he's the only available Spirit type Ssr character. So with that, he's very good for Spirit type content, where there isn't really any alternatives. The team itself is pretty good, and again free-to-play friendly with the Ssr alternatives, but this team is definitely going to have higher potential once we do get the release of Ssr Aizen. Depending on where you are at in the game, and if you played with the release of Ssr Bankai Ichigo and have Ichigo, you likely already have a very powerful Slash-type team, which can definitely be your go-to team. Likewise, Toshiro's team can definitely be your go-to, but right now, for most of us, it does work best as a secondary team for content that does require 2 teams, like Frenzy Feast and a lot of adventure mode quests. Any content that does require Spirit-type characters is exactly where you are going to want to use this team. But like already mentioned, it also can double down as your go-to team because Toshiro is a damn lot of fun. He's by far the most flashy character, especially with the 3 forms that he does have, his basic state, Tensor Jurin form, and also his Bankai. He's fairly easy to work around, even though in his Bankai state he does have 4 things to keep in mind: the 20-second timer, the Ice Edge effect, the build-up effect, and also the Ice Blossoms. Even though there are 4 things to keep in mind, it's also still fairly simple. Use your basic attack, technique, and just ultimate within 20 seconds. Personally, what I like most about Toshiro, especially when paired with his Ssr sub DPS Rukia, is that both of them can inflict freeze, so they work very well together and have really good survivability. Even though right now the most important thing is damage and also clear time, it's still nice knowing that you can easily dodge damage with Toshiro and constantly freeze the enemy so they can never deal damage to you with the combination of Rukia and also Toshiro. But overall, I think Toshiro is a great character, and exactly what the game needed right now: a new character that works completely different compared to Ichigo, mostly everyone's go-to damage dealer, while also, like already mentioned multiple times, being that go-to and needed Spirit-type Ssr damage dealing character. In the comments below though, let me know what you like to think about Toshiro, and I'll see you lads next time. Take care and peace.